Ever get the feeling like you're walking around and you're just a giant buffet for every mosquito?
Yeah,
Like 5 mile radius, they're all coming at you.
totally.
Imagine being a cow, but instead of mosquitoes, it's buffalo flies. And they just do not quit.
Oh, yeah. It's relentless.
That's what we're talking about today, kinda. We're going deep on cattle genetics and immunity. Believe it or not, some cattle are actually naturally resistant to those pesky flies.
Yeah, that's right. And this isn't, just some random agricultural science thing. This is like
Ah.
understanding how disease resistance works, which that's huge for animal and human health, everything.
Yeah, and the study that we're diving into today is called Quantitative Proteomics, reveals significant variation in host responses of cattle with differing buffalo fly susceptibility. It was published pretty recently. We'll explain what all those words mean, don't worry.
And the really cool thing is they use this technique, proteomics, to do this research. It's wild. They can take a snapshot of all the proteins in the blood
Oh, wow.
and they compare them between the cattle who, the flies love them and the ones who are like, get away from me.
Ah.
They can see what's different.
Okay, so before we get lost in all the sciencey stuff, let's back up a bit.
Okay?
For those of us who are not farmers, why do we care about a few bug bites on a cow?
Well, imagine just being constantly harassed by flies.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
And these flies, they're not just annoying, they're feeding on blood.
Yeah.
So it's irritation, stress. They can even cause open wounds, which is,
Ugh.
not a good time.
Yeah.
And for the cattle, it means they don't gain as much weight. Milk production goes down. They're just not doing well at all.
It's a huge economic problem, too, for the industry.
It's massive. Millions of dollars every year, just lost productivity, treatment costs, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So if we can find a way to naturally boost their resistance, it's a win-win. The animals are happier, the industry is happier.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So this study, they specifically looked at Brangus steers, right?
Oh, right.
Which is a type of beef cattle.
Mm-hmm.
And they split them up based on how many flies they attracted. So there was a high fly burden group and a low fly burden group.
Yeah. And to figure out the differences, they dug into their blood. That's where the proteomics comes in.
Okay.
What they found is really wild, actually.
Lay it on me. What makes these low fly cows so special? They have some kind of force field around them or something.
It's not quite a force field, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
What they found is that the low fly burden cattle, they actually have stronger blood clotting mechanisms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So their blood is thicker, so it's harder for the flies to get a meal.
It's a little more complicated than that. It's not just the thickness. It's like their clotting factors are just on high alert all the time.
Oh,
So it clots faster. The flies are like, ugh, it's too much work, and they go somewhere else.
interesting. So it's like a built-in defense mechanism. They're just less tasty.
Exactly. But it gets even weirder. Remember, we're looking at the whole protein profile.
Yeah.
They found some really interesting differences in the immune response, too.
Okay, now you've got me. What else is going on there? So this difference in the blood, it's not just about clotting faster, right? There's something going on with their actual immune systems, too.
Yeah, you got it. It all goes back to that protein snapshot thing.
Right.
They found higher levels of certain immune system proteins in the low-fly cattle. And get this, it was before they even saw a single fly.
What? So they're just walking around with these boosted immune systems, ready to go. They're expecting trouble.
Exactly, they're prepared. And there's this one protein in particular that really stood out. It's called mannose binding lectin, or MBL. This is where it gets really cool.
Okay.
It's imagine MBL is the first responder of the immune system.
Oh, okay. So the immune system's 911 operator.
Exactly. As soon as there's a problem, a bacteria, a virus, anything weird, MBL is there and tags it.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest of the immune system can be like, oh, that's a bad guy. Get him.
So it's like putting up wanted posters for all the bad guys.
Yes, exactly. And the low-fly cattle, they had way more of those wanted posters up than the high-fly cattle, even before there were any flies around.
Wow. Okay, so they're just naturally more prepared. What about those high fly cattle? Are they just out of luck?
Well, it's not that they're totally defenseless. Remember we were talking about how the low-fly cattle had stronger blood clotting?
Yeah.
Well, the high-fly cattle actually showed increased anticoagulation after the flies got to them.
Wait, hold on. What? They're doing what? That seems like the opposite of what they should be doing. They're making it easier for the flies.
It does seem counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
One theory is that it might be a way to minimize the damage from each bite.
Okay.
If the blood flows more freely, then maybe it reduces irritation and inflammation.
Oh, so maybe it's like a damage control
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, exactly. Like, well, I can't win, but I can at least make it less awful.
So instead of fighting, they're just trying to reduce the impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make the best of a bad situation.
Hmm.
More research is definitely needed, but it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. But I'm sure some of our listeners are thinking, okay, cool, cows and flies, but what about me? You said this research has bigger implications, right?
Right.
Connect the dots for us. So we've got these two different kinds of cattle, right?
Yeah.
The ones who are always ready for a fight and the ones who are kind of like rolling with the punches.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It makes you wonder, like, what if we could use that, those natural differences?
Right. Imagine if we could, like, breed cattle that were just naturally more resistant to things like buffalo flies.
Fewer chemicals, healthier cows, everyone's happy.
Exactly. But it's even bigger than that.
Oh.
This research can help us understand how immune systems work in general.
Okay, now you're talking. So, like, how could that help us?
Well, we're always fighting something off, right? Viruses, bacteria, whatever.
Mm.
What if we could figure out how to boost our own immune responses, just like those low-fly cattle?
So this research could lead to new vaccines, new treatments.
Exactly. It's like the buffalo flies were just the beginning. They showed us something much bigger is going on.
Wow. And to think it all started with a bunch of flies.
That's how science works sometimes,
Yeah.
But it just goes to show there's so much variety, even within one species.
Mm.
Not all cows are the same, just like not all people are the same.
So if you're that person who always gets eaten alive by mosquitoes,
Could be genetic, yeah.
who knew?
It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
We know genetics play a role in all sorts of things,
Mm.
like how susceptible we are to certain diseases or even what bugs are attracted to us. This research just shows us we've got a lot to learn.
Yeah. So many questions, which is kind of exciting, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
That's what science is all about. And this study, as cool as it is, it just gave us more questions. Like, I only looked at one kind of cattle.
Right.
So what about other breeds? And what about different parts of the world? Do those results hold up?
And we're just starting to understand the immune system, really. There's so much more to it, how it works with the environment, with other animals, with our own DNA.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing, really. And every new discovery just leads to more questions.
That's kind of the beauty of science, right? Always learning. Well, on that note, maybe next time you see a fly, you won't just swat it away.
Right.
Think about all the cool stuff we've been talking about. There's a whole world going on right in front of us. You never know what you might discover.